didn't have to do that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our campus, our capital campus. And we want to give you some time to settle in because it's lunchtime for some, and we had to get here to the hurry for some. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of March, 2025, and we are having the first press conference on our campus for this year under the leadership of the Assistant President of the University of Liberia, Dr. Layli Maparyan. Okay, we have other officials of the University of Liberia administration coming in. I'm Thomas Kyle, Director of University Relations, welcoming you all to this press conference. As we all know, the President has been in charge for 2 months. We are still with him for 100 days. And she did give briefing 1 month after her inauguration on state radio, and that was simulcast. But this time, we want to hear directly from her on our own campus. We know the media has been engaging with our stakeholders here, members of our community, and often you have questions. We try to address them, but it's good to hear from the person in charge. She has a lot to present today. We are hoping we have time to exhaust all of them, so we get opening remark from the Vice President for University Relations, after which we get the presentation of the President, and then we do question and answer like we normally do. So on that note, it's my pleasure to call on Vice President for University Relations, Councilor Norris Escoto.
Let me know, I'm housekeeping, can we put our phone on silent? So, start with this.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas Kyle. It's a pleasure to invite you again here regularly. You know, it's our tradition to keep the university family informed about what's happening on all of our campuses. And through you, you are the conduits, the linchpin to the larger Liberian society. So we appreciate the partnership that we have with the media here at the university. Like the comment Thomas Kaya stated, we have a new president who is student-centered and has clearly articulated her desire to frequently provide updates to the university community. When she was inaugurated about 2 months ago, the first thing she did in the first 1 week was to hold a media, engagement, a small one at ELBC, which was simulcast on 3 other radio stations. And she explained, she asked her, what is the modus operandi, here at the university, and we explained to her the modus operandi, and she was so excited. And so she returned to the country Sunday, and she said that she wanted to meet the media. And so this is where we are. We thank you, our regular stakeholders. We have the president in this room, some of the best and brightest journalists, both male and female in this country, who make the news, report the news, analyze the news, and I'm sure they'll be excited. They have some tough questions, but the president is very tough. She's been in university administration for a very long time. And she was away, and while she was away in the US for that short period of time, she did do a lot, for the university, meeting stakeholders, having meetings here and there. And so she wants to inform the stakeholders, the media, the students, the alumni, the government, etc. So this is why we're here. We're hoping that we can wrap this up in 1 hour, and so that you can have enough time to ask questions and then subsequently write your story. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the again, I want to welcome you, and I'd like to please welcome the President. You give the President a hand of applause. And before that, just want to acknowledge today is the birthday anniversary of the Chief of Staff in the President's Office, the former Minister of Information, my good friend, Clintus. I've been able to see it. Happy birthday, Anthony. I love Clintus for your birthday. Madam President, the polling results.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming together on such short notice. There's so much going on, and I know that my earliest desire was to come back and do the President's Hour, but we had to delay that, and we're doing this instead, so that I have the opportunity to get some information to your various audiences about things related to my presidency and related to the university. So I'm just going to begin by offering an overview of some of the things that I worked on while I was in the United States during the month of February. I know that there's been some buzz about why I was away and why I chose that time. Many of you know that my appointment came about fairly recently, and that because of the need to come here for the inauguration on January 10th, I did not have time to wrap up all of my affairs where I'm coming from, so I went back to do that. But while I was there, I also engaged in a number of activities that were directly related to my priorities for the first 100 days, as well as to some of the larger objectives for the university. So I want to begin by providing an overview of the things I did during the month of February. The first one that I want to mention is that I met with ULIBA, or the University of Liberia Alumni Association in the Americas. I first met with the leadership of that organization at their invitation. I got to know the group and their priorities, and then later they held an open Zoom meeting for me to attend, where I was able to address members of various chapters of that organization in the United States. It was attended by over 50 people. I had a chance to talk about some of the priorities from the first 100 days, as well as the longer plan. And to get input from them about what they were hoping for with my presidency, what some of their concerns and experiences were with regard to the university, and really just to form a friendship with that organization. So that was one of the most enjoyable things that I did while I was away. I also had an opportunity to kick off the President's Hour. Some of you may have seen my initial broadcast that took place remotely while I was away, and I really enjoyed that. I'm so glad that the university has that venue for me to engage with the community regularly. I'm not a person that wants to be stuck in my office. I'm somebody that wants to be out engaging with the members of our community, whether that's our students, our faculty, our staff, or external stakeholders, or even the government of Liberia, or even people from other countries that are engaging our university. It's very much about engagement. My presidency will be about engagement. I also had an opportunity to contribute to the celebration of the 74th Founders Day. And you will recall that the theme of that Founders Day was "The Future Starts Now." We chose that theme for a reason, and that is because we are hoping to turn the page into a new era with the University of Liberia. This new era is going to be one characterized by the strengthening of our education here and making the university a place that is good, enjoyable, and contributing to people's futures, everyone who comes here. So we will continue that conversation about the future. That was just the launch at the 74th Founders Day celebration. I also had numerous conversations with units of the university that were affected by the USAID shutdown. Many of you know that the United States Agency for International Development funds many programs at the university. In fact, my own program was affected because I have been one of the leads on the Higher Education for Conservation project. And while I was here initially, the project was suspended, and while I was in the States, it was completely shut down. It was canceled. It was concluded. And that didn't just affect me, but many other units at the University of Liberia. So we had to have conversations about what to do next. And there are several lines of action now in terms of each unit coming up with a strategy to stay viable without that source of funding. Another thing that I did is I had an interview with International Focus magazine. International Focus magazine is a magazine that's pitched primarily to the diplomatic community. It has editions in several cities, some in the United States here. There's a Monrovia edition, an Atlanta edition, Houston edition, and some others as well. So I did an interview with the editor of that magazine, and that magazine will be coming out shortly. It will be shared here when it does. I also engaged in several fundraising and friend-raising events. The University Consortium for Liberia, which you've heard me talk about before, which is a consortium of approximately 21 institutions, including the University of Liberia, but several others in the United States, primarily in the United States South, had an event at which I was able to come and make a pitch about some of the things that the University of Liberia needs, and to talk with those member institutions about ways that they might collaborate with us to solve some of those needs. I'll give just one example. I've made it a priority to increase the number of PhDs within our faculty. So I asked, which amongst those institutions has programs in which they would be willing to accept Liberian faculty and even to fund them? So I've started those conversations. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to continue to make it possible for more and more of UL's master's level faculty to go and get that PhD, as long as they agree to come back here and teach and strengthen our institution. So that event was very successful. Also at that event, during that 2 days of a fundraising and friend-raising tour, I had the opportunity to sign 2 new memoranda of understanding with 2 additional institutions. One was Morris Brown College, another historically Black university in the United States, and they have a certificate in hospitality management. And one of the reasons I was very interested in this collaboration is because the president of Liberia, in his arrest agenda, has that letter T that stands for tourism. And we need to strengthen our programming around tourism here at the University of Liberia. So a certificate program in hospitality management and hospitality management would help our students gain those credentials and give our university the opportunity to develop that programming. It is an online program, and over time, we will induct some students for the first cohort of that program. I also had the opportunity to talk with representatives from Clayton State University, which is a state institution within the university system of Georgia. And we signed an MOU that was very broad, but over time will allow us to bring in healthcare administration as one of our programs. So our College of Health Sciences will be able to add a program that they don't currently have to strengthen their entire portfolio. So I also had the opportunity to meet up with a representative from Kennesaw State University, another institute within the university system of Georgia, who this institution has the top conflict resolution program, some would say in the country or in the world. Already they have a collaboration with our own Kofi Annan Institute for Conflict Transformation. And we had an opportunity to talk about whether in the future there could potentially be a PhD program in conflict resolution with these 2 very strong institutes collaborating together. I also met with the originators of the Georgia Tech online master's program in computer science. Many of you know that University of Liberia is one of the newest institutions added to this program, and that qualified students or faculty members seeking that additional credential are able to engage in this program with one of the world's top universities for free. So I had the opportunity to meet with the people who started and founded that program and brought it here and discuss the status report of where we are. We have, they're about to induct their first class, but because they haven't made the formal announcement, I'm not going to jump ahead of them on that announcement, but I will tell you it's something quite good and our university has a big role. I had the opportunity also to meet with Dr. Olu Menje, who's president of Tubman University, one of my colleagues. He happened to be in Atlanta. We compared notes about our respective institutions. We formed an important relationship that is very important since we're both part of the national university landscape in Liberia. I had the opportunity to visit my own alma mater, to meet with people from my own alma mater, Spelman College, a historically Black women's college, the leading HBCU in the United States of America. And I asked them about their connections with Liberians, and I was introduced to people that are building connections between Liberia as well as to some who had visited Liberia for study abroad. We're thinking about how can we advance that relationship now because I have this special relationship with my alma mater. I also received a letter from the president of the University of Georgia offering support to our institution broadly. And so I'm going to circle back with him about some things that the University of Georgia might be able to help us with. I met with Dr. Cheryl Dozier, who used to be the president of Savannah State University in Savannah, Georgia. She actually was one of the founding members of the social work program at the University of Liberia. And so she was asking me to brief her on the status of the social work program. And she was very encouraging about continuing the relationship that had been started with her. I also had the opportunity to join the Clark Atlanta University Executive Leadership Institute, which is a program for new presidents. It brings us together in a cohort so that we can share experiences, learn from each other, and problem solve together about our respective institutions. And last but not least, I had a meeting with the World Bank country representative about UL's own fisheries program. So that, as you know, we will soon be having a handover ceremony with the new buildings that were built. So I had an opportunity to talk about where we stand with that particular program and to make sure that we're tying up all of our loose ends before that important event takes place. So one last thing I'll mention that happened, the University Consortium for Liberia established a scholarship vehicle in my name to be known as the Dr. Layli Maparyan Scholarship for PhD Study. So the University Consortium for Liberia has one of its main functions the collection of funds for scholarships to fund Liberian students who are studying in the United States or elsewhere. And so that scholarship fund has been established in my name specifically to reflect my emphasis on the acquisition of PhDs. So I'll stop there in terms of what happened during my time away. In terms of what has happened since I come back, I have come back and really reestablished my engagement with the stakeholders at the University of Liberia. I prioritized adding some additional campus touring time so that I can see the facilities. Actually, tomorrow I'll be doing a walkthrough with some faculty on the Folllow campus. And I also prioritized creating a town hall meeting with students. From the day I got here, it has been important to me to establish a relationship with students. But because of the speed with which things have been happening, I've not yet had the opportunity to fully explain myself to students and to start the dialogue that I want to begin and keep going. And so that is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the Folllow campus in the large auditorium. And I hope that everyone who is in contact with students will encourage them to attend and bring their questions. I have some things to say and some things to offer, but I also want to engage in dialogue and hear from students. I intend to do this on an ongoing basis, at the very least once a month, more often if necessary. But it's important to us to get in a relationship so that we can get back to the business of education. You know, the more we're outside, running around, chasing each other, throwing rocks and singing songs, the less time we're spending in the classroom. The classroom is what this university is really about. Everyone is here to develop their minds, is here to plan out their future careers, and more importantly, to think about how they're going to contribute to nation building in Liberia and to contribute to the world at large. And so I want, my job is really to make sure that that educational mission takes place. And having a relationship with students in which they don't feel the need to constantly protest and rather feel like students are being heard, their concerns are being addressed, but at the same time, very important, students stay focused on education and don't get distracted into other activities that slow us down. That's going to be a big part of my message tomorrow. So I will stop there because I know that people want to take questions before getting to lunch. But this is just my opening statement for today's press conference, and I thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, President, for opening remarks. I think you listened carefully, and we want to take questions in each and just stick to the talking point for now. We all want to gravitate to things happening around us, but let's exhaust some of the things she has presented, then we can ask on other issues. So you call your name, the institution you represent, and then you just keep your question brief. Yes.
Well, thank you, Madam President. My name is Layli Maparyan. I work for Folllow Television, also the student of this university. Many times over the years, the body of the University of Liberia in terms of infrastructure, in terms of accessibility to many platforms. One way our student philosophy here at the University of Liberia, working with the philosophy books at the university. So we just read things from the internet at times. And are these issues ever reach you before coming as president of the University of Liberia, or prior to you coming and being engage in these issues. We have some issues that are comfortably there in the paper, the lack of big libraries, the lack of data buildings, even refugees are not being funded by the university.
No, let's take two more, then we'll get this. Any other question? If not, yes. The main institution representatives.
How do you really for peace and African I'm president for your vision for the Universal Life? I think it's yes. Allah, your plan for the university and economic program on your watch. But the program
Yeah, this time. That's Captain.
I'm Samuel Johnson.
Please speak loud or
I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'm the host of TV. I'm going to found the issue of student politics, how they recruit the other parties at the campus of the University of Liberia. Most often, there is 7 classes, and it is working other students from the very. So, what is administration intends to do to get rid of the constant infestation, the disturbance of the two political parties that are on the campus of the University of Liberia?
yeah.
Okay, so for the first question, was I familiar with the conditions here before coming here? The answer is categorically yes, I was. Many of you know that I did a Fulbright here in 2010, and I spent the summer here working. I had an office on campus. I was interviewing stakeholders for the project that I was working on, and I've made many trips to Liberia. You know that my own husband is a graduate and alumnus of the University of Liberia. I've been here, I know the place, I know the people. This is not a new environment for me. And in fact, the very reason I wanted this job was because I wanted to come help with these issues. And I wanted to say, is there some way, in all the experience I've had over the last 30 years, that I can bring not only the experience, but the relationships to help with the issues? So yes, I was familiar, and they don't daunt me. You know, I like a good puzzle. I like to roll up my sleeves. I'm an industrious, hardworking person. You'll see me dust the door, I will be working. So I'm happy to be here and to do this work. And what I'm really hoping is that other people will work along with me. Because one of the things I want to make sure people understand and feel is that when we're solving problems, it's never something where one person is solving your problem and the other people sitting there waiting for the solution to drop. That's not how life works. The best solutions come when we work together. We all participate. We all help define the issues. We all take up roles in fixing the problem, and we keep each other encouraged until the problem is solved. You know, I'm sure that everyone in this room knows that the problems that the University of Liberia faces are very entrenched. They're difficult problems. But one of the challenging things is that people want their solution tomorrow, if not yesterday. And you know, there's many analogies that help us understand that you can't solve big problems overnight. And if you are agitating to solve something overnight that can't be solved overnight, then you're only slowing things down. You know, I like to use the example of having a baby. You want to have baby, you can't have baby tomorrow. There's nothing you can do to make baby come tomorrow. You try to make baby come tomorrow, you kill the baby, right? So you just have to wait the 9 months. Same thing, you're building a house. You want a house tomorrow, you can't build a house tomorrow. It takes a certain amount of time. Your concrete has to dry. Your walls have to go up. You have to acquire your materials. You got to have your blueprint. There are certain things that take time, which is why I have said I come here with the approach of being systematic. We identify the problem, we figure out its component parts, we look at the trajectory that gets the component parts to the goal we want, and then we systematically follow the plan. But if we don't take time to sit down and analyze the problem and plan, much more so because many of these problems are intertwined, then we will never get there. We will just keep agitating and keep being frustrated and unhappy. So part of my job is to slow it down, get people to take a deep breath, get people to say, okay, if we're all doing this together, what can we do? And the other thing is, when you're used to, you know, other people solving things for you or other people providing resources, you forget how much you can do on your own. You know, Before there was money in the world, people still solved problems. People still did the things that needed to be done. Money is great, it's neat, it's necessary, but we can never yield our sense of agency to the lack of it. All right? It's very important for us to increase our sense of agency and to really dig deep within ourselves and within our communities to solve problems. So that's the approach that I want to gradually bring within our community so that we are getting the things done from hell or high water, and we, in the end, are happy with what we have. All right, so the second question, remind me again.
My question is about, other programs that would be.
Other programs, got it. Okay, so within the university, you have certain programs that are out front for a variety of reasons. You've got certain programs that are not out front for a variety of reasons. What I'm trying to do right now is get to know all the programs. I want to understand who's thriving, who's not thriving, and why. Okay? When the ones are thriving, you want to keep that going. You don't want to let that stop. The ones that are not thriving, you want to figure out why. Now, if I'm being completely honest as a university president, without having analyzed anything at the University of Liberia, every president might come upon a time they will say, oh, this program, it really needs to go now. This one is not working out, it's not worth investing in. I'm not saying I've seen any such thing at the University of Liberia, but should I see such a thing, as president, it's still my prerogative to say, I'm reorganizing things to make it better, okay? So I care about all the disciplines. I am coming out of both research universities and the liberal arts tradition, and I understand the benefits of both styles of education. And I want every student who comes out of the University of Liberia to have a credential that will get them where they need to go on the global stage, okay? But to get there, I have to do a deep dive with all of the different departments and programs, make sure the curricula are up to date. People mentioned about materials not being there, the difficulty of not having books. Of course I know about the difficulty of not having books. When I hear about the pamphlets and the different thing, I worry a great deal. But one of the nice things that's happening in the global field of higher education is that because of open platforms, more and more materials are being put online. So what that means is that we can solve our online problem, that we can solve our materials problem. We worry less about books and worry more about online materials and making sure people have access. But of course, to solve our online problem, we gotta solve our electricity problem, because you can't be online if there's no electricity. So those two go hand in hand. And even though I've only been here 2 months, I'm already in conversations about those two things. So let's just stay tuned. It's not something I can solve overnight. I can't wake up tomorrow and say, guess what? We have 24-hour electricity and 24-hour internet, but I can assure you that in a stepwise fashion, I am moving us in that direction.
Follow.
Student political parties. Okay, I'm going to tell you my honest opinion about student political parties. There's two parts to my opinion. One part to my opinion, which I stated in my previous news conferences and radio appearances, is that the university should be the place that trains political minds to excel. It is a place where people who have political points of view come to learn more and refine their political points of view through exposure to other thinkers who have thought similarly and differently to themselves. So any good university worth its salt offers opportunities for students to refine their political viewpoints. I'm also a firm believer that higher ed institutions are an appropriate place to have a forum of debate and disagreement for people to exchange ideas and dialogue. But there is a place where I draw the line, and that is I do not believe that higher ed institutions are a place where students should evolve into destruction, disruption, rowdiness, vandalism, harm, violence, or any of such things as that. I don't consider those acts of political behavior. I consider those acts of lack of self-discipline and lack of maturity. So I'm in favor of our political students engaging with their groups and refining their political points of view, gaining practice that may enable to enter political life later in their lives and after they leave the university. I'm all in favor of that. But when it comes to things related to disruption, disorderly conduct, harming others, endangering others, damaging property, and so on, I draw the line there.
Yeah, follow. I earlier stated that how do you intend to have a relationship with financial support for president of the government your
my sense about government funding is that it has its limitations. I think that the strategy prior to now has primarily been to ask the government for more money. But understanding the constraints on the government for money, I don't think that my winning strategy is to ask the government for more money. I think my winning strategy is to go find other funders that can add to what the government is providing. So my intention is to be on the world stage, exhausting my networks and making new networks with people that can help us with those financial priorities, while at the same time, very efficiently and effectively using the money that the government gives us. I know that we are not yet the most efficient institution that we could be, that there's room to grow in terms of efficiency and effectiveness financially and otherwise. So part of my 5 E's, which you would recall, are education, effectiveness, efficiency, excellence, and ethics. We will move in the direction of solving our fiscal and financial problems and needs through a diverse portfolio strategy.
Okay, we take the second and I think the last batch of questions because the president has a meeting after this. So we start with our.
And I'm going to require some female journalists to speak up. I'm sorry, I will.
Okay, thank you very much. President, it's a pleasure meeting you for the first time since you took over.
Thank you.
My name is Cynthia Chico, and I work for the Liberia University. I listened to your presentation. I have one question on the presentation. And I have one question that is concerned with Liberian people out there as well, living in the University of Liberia. So, since you took over as president of the University of Liberia, I just want to know what are those challenges or new challenges that you have observed for important in the University of Liberia and how your administration intends to tackle this challenge last month? The second question, I want to first hear from you whether you confirm as to whether the University have revoked the degree of Commerce Inspector General Doctor. And if so, I also want to know what the administration is also doing with people who are linked within the system, granting such opportunity to come and use the body which is so far to have an ID number to follow. Because people are concerned, regardless of principle of good governance and administrative management. I mean, people who are involved with that particular stuff at the level of the university, what is the university intending to them? What are the investigations?
Okay, I'll answer the second question first, because the answer is really short right now, and that is I'm still awaiting the report. And so the committee that did the investigation, meeting with the chair of that committee later this week, with the expectation that the report will be provided to me, and then I'll move from there. With regard to your first question, okay, remind me of the first question.
Challenges.
Challenges, right, okay, the challenges are plentiful. I think I would describe it this way. The first challenge is that all of the challenges are intertwined. You know how it is when you put all your cords somewhere and they all get tangled up, you're trying to get your one cord out, but they're all tangled with all the other ones. That's the situation here. Every problem is tangled up with every other problem. So if you solve one, it touches others, and then it creates this cascade of things you need to do. That's a complex problem-solving environment. So you have to carefully analyze what the problems are first, and then you have to stage the response in a way that deals with the entanglement. So right now I'm in a fact-finding phase. I'm meeting with people, I'm talking with people, I'm collecting data and information and opinions to do that disentanglement preparation, okay? But I think that there's also a problem that we have that gets mentioned over and over, which is a fiscal or financial problem. We don't have enough money to do what this university rightly needs to do. It's nobody's fault, but it is true. You know, if we were really doing what a national university should be doing, we would need 10 times what we have. You know, but if you look at the budget of the nation can't accommodate something 10 times what we get, right? Because they have other issues that they rightly have to deal with. So that is why the strategy there has to be go on the hunt for funding elsewhere to add to what the government gives to us. And so that's another challenge. Okay, now, the third challenge I would like to identify is what I would call an attitudinal challenge. Okay, I think that people here carry around a debt of frustration, which is quite understandable, because living in entangled problems causes a tremendous amount of stress on a human being, right? And so people are experiencing that. When people are experiencing that, their fuse is short, their temper is short, their frustration is high, and they want solutions immediately, and they want to express it in a way that's very emotional, and sometimes emotion can spill over, you know? I think that's a problem. Emotion itself isn't a problem, but mature individuals and mature institutions are able to channel emotions into a productive solution, right? And so the fact that we need more scaffolding for that, I view as something of an issue. I'm completely understanding why things are the way they are, but I'm also understanding how they need to be and could be different. I want to remind people of something that I said during my inauguration speech, and that is that I view people as fundamentally a mind rich in gems of inestimable value. That means that every person is inherently born noble, and if they are not noble at any given point in time, they've been steered off course. But the human spirit desires to return to its correct course. The human spirit desires to grow and learn, and a higher ed institution should be a place that makes that possible. So my goal is to make this the maximally enabling environment for people's tremendous amount of valuable energy to get channeled in a positive direction. We will channel it into national development. We will channel it into the development of our minds. We will channel it into all of the kinds of things that each of the disciplines enables us to do. There's just so many great things that will happen when we return our energy. And I like to use this analogy of going from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle. You know, one good thing leads to another good thing leads to another good thing. That's what we need to be doing, and that's what I'm here to try to bring.
Okay, can you please come and at least so we capture our female leaders and ask a question? Yeah, come this way and capture your work. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Maparyan. My name is Layli Maparyan. You earlier said in your statement that since you're able to work, you're not able to meet the students' education. How soon are you able to meet the students?
Okay, I have the good fortune of meeting students in small groups, but not a town hall. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. there's a town hall. I don't know how many people can fit in the auditorium, but I'm inviting the general group to come. I will be there like with some of my other officers, but in that meeting, I'm going to really explain myself to the students. I'm going to explain my point of view, and I'm going to point out what I view as some of the problems and solutions that we should think about together. And I'm going to also engage them in activity to think about how do we prioritize things. Because, you know, it can be hard when you have many things that are all important at once and you have to decide what to do. But if we think carefully about it, we can make those decisions. So that is my game plan for tomorrow's town hall.
Okay,
Thank you.
We still have one slot for questions, especially our female journalists here. Our president is very big on female participation in everything.
That's right.
Yeah, so let's find a way to capture our sister back there. Or you just come in front so you can do the phone out the camera. Yeah, that will be okay, and we can capture you.
Madam President, my name is Giselle Guillen, and I run for the University of Liberia. You are speaking of meeting with students who have a dialogue, and we are aware the university have two party students, which is SUP and COSA. So how do you intend meeting the two parties to have a dialogue with them?
I think that when the students come into the auditorium, they should sit with their respective friends and groups. That way, the friends will be together, and I am going to bring a message of peace from the very start of the meeting. And I, as a skilled classroom instructor and person who has been in academia with students for 30 years, I feel okay to handle whatever may occur. Thank you.
Okay, any final question or follow-up before we take question back from the president? Just go for it. Yeah, you can.
Yes, again, I'm somebody who said a report for QFM and TV. Normally, the University of Liberia, because of some challenges, have been offering a year per semester. So mostly the student comes, they take whole year, they just offer one semester. All your administration tends to do instructional challenge.
I very much appreciate that question because it allows me to highlight what I consider to be one of the first wins of my first 100 days. And that is the creation and the approval of a regularized academic calendar for the university that will provide for 2 16-week semesters in the basically starting one September to December, August to December, another one January to May, and then to have a shorter 8-week double vacation school semester, or what we call these trimesters, in the June and July time. So with that regularized calendar, we're gonna have some challenges. One challenge will be, well, what do we do if people decide to strike anyway? And I think that my perspective on that is that we need to have educational programs that can jump in if the school is otherwise not in session, because I won't say school is not in session. I will say if some people don't come into their classroom to teach their regular course, we need to have backup courses and backup people who can come in so that students are still getting an education that counts toward those credentials. Now, I need to tell you that I have some plans for some additional alternative type of credentials for students that I haven't talked about yet, and I'm not going to really discuss that in depth here. But what that will do is we'll create some opportunities to make sure that education is always continuing on our campus.
Okay, he has a follow-up question that is just in line with what you
Just said.
just said, so maybe you can ask them.
Thank you so much. I'm Anthony Gray, and I'm the host for the Liberia Investigator at ECOWAS. There are some rumors around the corner that the university is going to have plans to introduce track semesters for each academic year. So I don't know how true is that.
It's true. It's true. We are starting in August. We're rolling out trimesters. So 2 long ones, 1 short one. But the short one will still be full credit. So in other words, you will double up your time, but you will still get the same amount of credit. Okay? You can't take as many classes in the short term because classes themselves are longer. But the 2 regular semesters will be there, and then we will have the 3rd one, which we call the trimester, in the June and July period. So yes, what you are hearing is true. It will start in August, right after Flag Day.
Okay. Yeah, my President, today is Middle Week, and it's an active time on Capitol Hill,
Yes.
so a lot of people are following this program.
Okay.
And most of them are expressing their concern. I'm going to narrow down to 2 main issues. One, the situation with adding drop that informs whether students are part of a particular class or session, and then the little action that some students perform is just a few minutes before the question starts. Any information you want to provide to Jen?
Yes. Yes, I do. My take, and this is after consultation with the Vice President for Academic Affairs, my take is that there has been enough time for registration because it started in October and it was extended by 2 additional weeks during the semester. That being said, I understand that there are still some problems which are being dealt with manually. If the manual system isn't working, then we will rectify it. But I do not want to reopen drop and add, and I'll tell you why. It's important that we have standards and guidelines. We can't just take every protest and change everything. This is not a demand-driven environment. It's a structured environment. Universities operate according to rules. And if we just constantly change our rules, our reputation at a university is in the dirt. Okay? And I'm here to bring the reputation up. So when we have standards and we follow them, our reputation goes up. When we just keep changing things over and over every minute, we change, people don't take us seriously. When people graduate from this school, they want their degree to mean something. Okay, I've seen too many people come to state with UL degree doesn't mean anything. I came here that will not be true. So people should not push all those buttons. I will tell you, I will talk about that tomorrow. But at the same time, I deeply sympathize with people who have a legitimate situation. For example, freshmen who are admitted late, or other people with a serious concern. I know that because we don't have our whole environment digitized, that it can be very hard. And one of my big goals when we see the strategic plan later, digitization will be a big part of it. Most other colleges and universities around the world, they use digital things to keep track of all these things. It doesn't take a long time because everything is online, and the things online, they all talk to each other. We will get there, but we're not there yet. So while we're not there, we have to be patient and just deal with it. But students need to understand, we don't just throw protests and change the rules. It's an institution, and the way we do things, we gotta learn to deal with that and be mature and follow those guidelines.
Specifically on the protest today, any information on that?
Well, protest to me, when I hear people, they have some ideas that they want to share, that's one kind of protest. But when protest turns into throwing rocks, it's not really a protest anymore, it's starting to veer into riot territory. And it's unacceptable for us to have riots on our campus. To have a protest where people are sharing their views and listening to other people's views, as long as it's not violent, that's fine. But when we cross the line into general rowdiness, disruptiveness, destruction of property, threatening others, we have gone too far. So expect to put a stop to that. Expect to put a stop to that.
Okay, on that note, we just like to take closing comment from you, and then we can get our viewers and
Okay. Yes, my closing remarks is that I came to this university because I love it. And I came to this university because I love the people that I'll be working with. Whether those people are students, faculty, staff, administrators, I'm completely motivated by love in this work. And I'm willing to roll up my sleeves, and I'm a listener. I like talking with people and engaging people. When you have a problem, the best way is to come talk to me or send me something in writing. The best way is not throw rocks outside. The way to engage is to have a conversation, to sit down, be peaceful, and let's work it out. Then let's make a plan. So this news conference really is serving the purpose of introducing where we are headed next. We are headed into these conversations of all constituencies, and trust me, as I said in my inauguration address, I see you. I see you. Okay, so please see me too.
Okay, what I'm going to do
Thank you so much for the presentation and update.
also want to thank our colleagues, my brothers, all of the necessary questions. We've already got the first presentation from the president on our capital campus. We hope you will have some of you with us tomorrow during the town hall engagement with students. I start at 10 a.m. on Folllow campus in the theater. So please come there. You have the opportunity to talk to some of the student leaders. I can tell that you have more questions concerning the issue with students here today, but the president has a meeting already scheduled prior to here. So we want to stick to that plan. Discuss, get to know what issues are now and then, maybe once a month or every other 2 weeks, we get update from the president. And in addition to that, we go into regular as our president hour. Through that, we get directly from the president update on happenings at the University of Liberia. So on that note, we would like to say thanks to those of you who follow us online. Thanks to you for coming. And yes, we see you tomorrow, hopefully, some of you. So, bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Happy birthday, man.